everybody, and welcome back to Art a la Carte. In this video, I'm going to try something I have never done before, and I've always wanted to try it. That is to create a completed animation cell, old school, like on the little plastic card, and paint it in. I've done a lot of animation cell coloring digitally, which I can do a video if you'd like to see how you can do that on a digital software like Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop. But back in the olden days, they didn't have these newfangled dangle things like computers. Everything was done by hand, including the painting process, which after looking into this, I can't believe how time-consuming this was. If you want to have a whole new respect for movies like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs or Cinderella, I highly recommend that you give this challenge a try. The first thing is to draw the character or the item that you want to create the cell picture of. I decided to do one of my favorite Disney princesses. She's not my favorite Disney princess. She's up there. She's like, Ariel's my favorite. But then really close next to her is Rapunzel. Just because Ariel and I had a lot more time together. So I decided to do a quick sketch of Rapunzel. And I did look at a reference photo. This is from the scene where she's on the boat looking at the lanterns. So I drew my sketch off of that. Once I had the sketch, I darkened in my lines, and now it's time to transfer this to a clear plastic sheet. Now, I had this box that someone gave me, and this is where I got the idea. It is transparency film, back when they had the light up projectors. Let me know in the comment section below if you had these used in your school or you've ever used them. I've used them before, but I've never used them to draw on. I'm taking one of these plastic sheets and laying it over top of my Rapunzel picture. Now, to make sure that it doesn't shift or move around while I'm working, I'm going to go ahead and tape all four of the edges. The next part I could have done with perma markers, I think, though maybe painting would have smudged that, but I'm trying to go old school here and I want to do everything with paint. So I have acrylic paint. I'm not sure if they use acrylic paint or oil paint. For some reason, I want to think they used oil paint, but that would be so time consuming to dry. I just don't know why they would use it, but I didn't research that part to find out what type of paint. I had a craft acrylic paint, and that's what I'm using. At first, I loosened the paint up with some water to make it really thin, but then I realized it is too thin. You do not want a transparent paint with this. You want it to be very opaque, not see-through, and I found that was my biggest problem. Second biggest problem was, again, the paintbrush. The first I was using a really thin craft brush, but realized, at least for the line art part, I was going to need a really fine line brush, so I went to my watercolor set brushes and used that one. It also takes an insane amount of time to get those lines just perfect, and if you mess up, it's kind of painstaking to correct any mistakes that you make, so take your time. I also decided that I wanted to make the line art different colors. So the face I made a dark brown, almost black. For the hair I made kind of a beigey brownish gold color. For her dress I had a darker kind of purple, so that when I placed the paint on top, it would be more like a traditional cell painting where the line art is colored towards that. I don't know if actually in Snow White if they did colored line art or if it was just all black lines. I'd have to look at a picture now. But I went ahead and did that. The next thing that I learned whilst doing this is you have to wait for your paint to dry. If your line art paint is still a little bit wet and you start applying your overcolor, it can smudge and blur things, so dry your paint. I also wanted to give her rosy cheeks, which I don't know, maybe this was a huge mistake because trying to blend rosy blobs of color on plastic is not as easy as it sounds. After that, it's simply applying colors in reverse fashion. So if there's a highlight or something that I want on top of the background color, I need to apply that first. So you always have to think about You know, if there's a shine in the eye, you get that in there first. If I want a shadow in the hair, I have to paint that first before I put the actual hair color in. You'll also see that I will pull out my hair dryer to help dry some of the paint every once in a while, just so that I didn't have to continuously wait. In total, this piece took me about 2 hours to do from start to finish, which is pretty long considering it's just, I would recommend taping down 2 sides instead of all 4 sides. That way you can flip the transparency up and see how things are looking, and if there's a mistake you can fix it. But I didn't want to. I wanted to record my reaction for you. You'll also see me shaking the cellophane, the transparency. It's not because I'm frustrated. There's just a lot of air bubbles. I really began to apply the paint as thick as I could because I didn't want it to be gappy and blotchy. So I would tap the bottom of the paper to kind of help any air bubbles and help the paint kind of settle a little bit more. A trick that I learned from watching one of the makings of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I used several different types of acrylic paint, and I'll tell you that not all acrylic paint is the same. And I found the multi-purpose acrylic paint worked the best. It was the most opaque and went on the smoothest. Some of it was really transparent, so I had to apply several layers to get a nice thick coverage. But with that said and done, after everything is placed on here, it is time to reveal the final piece. I have to wait for it to dry. Don't smudge it with my fingers. Almost completely dry. There's probably just a couple little wet spots in here, but I think it's dry enough to flip it over and see what we have. I'm so nervous. From this side it looks okay, but depending on if the lines bled or what, I don't know. But I'm going to cut the tape on all 4 sides. There we go. And there we go. There it is. Oh my goodness. I mean, it's not great, but it is so much better than I thought it was going to be. Wow. I don't want to lay it down because I'm afraid it will smudge still. But you guys, I think for the first try, this isn't so bad. Like, you definitely don't want to hold it up to the light because that's just not pretty. But I'm impressed. I mean, I did not think it would turn out this well. I did forget to put the line work with the fingers, and I probably should have done a little bit more line work at the bottom of the eyes. But even the cheeks didn't turn out that bad. I'm surprised. So if I did this again, I think the line art would be a thing I would practice with the painting, and then I think I would do some cell shading on the face to kind of put a little bit more dimension there. I like how the cell shading turned out on the hair, but I'm impressed. I mean, having never done this before or tried it out, this isn't so bad. I kind of feel legit. So I think I'm going to practice this again, and if you'd like to see the practicing or have a suggested character that I draw, or if I should do an original character, let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you've done this before, like full-on cell shade painting, and you have any tips or suggestions, let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear, because yeah, I'm excited. Well guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. God bless you guys. Try something new, and we'll see you in the next art video. Bye-bye.